Welcome everyone to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the story and the structure of a seriously incredible military unit, the Bangladesh Army's 30th Battalion. You've probably heard them called the Infinite 30. Well, they're basically a masterclass in discipline, operating as a rapid response force at home and a literal shield in global peacekeeping. If you want to understand what it takes to build a modern elite force from the ground up, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. The official regimental motto is grace, strength, speed. But what really defines these guys is their closely held internal philosophy, which is unlimited dedication. And you know, this isn't just some catchy PR phrase. For a quick reaction force, it is a literal commitment to infinite readiness. They don't get the predictable rest cycles that other units might have. Instead, they're uniquely trained to be the absolute first ones tapped when there's a sudden internal security need or a massive emergency international deployment. Their dedication literally has no end date. So here's our mission briefing for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the infinite identity, then the anatomy of the battalion. Number 3 is national defense operations, 4, global peacekeeping missions, and finally, 5, life in the regiment.
Section 1, the infinite identity, forging the tiger lineage.
And this brilliantly illustrates their evolution. See, the broader East Bengal Regiment was founded way back in 1948 by Major Abdul Ghani. Fast forward to 1971, and these soldiers literally formed the backbone of the Liberation War as the Mukti Bahini. Now, the 30th Battalion itself was actually raised a bit later during a post-independence expansion, but because their founding officers were battle-hardened veterans of 71, that incredible bravery and sheer endurance, it was baked directly into the unit's DNA from day one. Today, they're a huge part of Forces Goal 2030, which is Bangladesh's massive modernization plan to create a highly tech-savvy digital army. Because they're part of the East Bengal Regiment, every single soldier in the 30th is known as a tiger, and their visual markers instantly demand respect. You've got this stylized Bengal tiger cap badge sitting right atop a scroll, accented by brilliant red and green regimental colors that symbolize their national identity. They wear the iconic maroon beret, often paired with a braided maroon or green lanyard on their ceremonial dress. If you look closely at their epaulets, you're going to spot the brass 30 E-Bengal shoulder titles. Oh, and during guard duties or parades, the non-commissioned officers, the havildars, they stand out by wearing a really distinctive red sash. These aren't just uniform items. These specific badges and lanyards carry the immense pride and history of the entire regiment. Section 2, Anatomy of the Battalion, the Triangle of Command. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the hierarchy works. To operate with flawless discipline and deploy as rapidly as they do, an infantry unit of this size needs a super rigid structure. Right at the top, you have a lieutenant colonel holding ultimate responsibility as the battalion commander for up to 1,000 personnel. Below them, majors and senior captains lead the Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta companies. But the real secret weapon? That's step 3, the junior commissioned officers. In the Infinite 30, these subedars and naib subedars act as the absolutely vital backbone of the whole operation. They are the crucial bridge connecting the strategic high command directly to the enlisted soldiers and section leaders executing the mission on the ground. Something to note about military units in Bangladesh is that they typically rotate every 2 to 3 years. It helps them familiarize themselves with different terrains, so you might find them in infantry-heavy cantonments like Joshore or Kamila. But no matter where they are actively deployed, their permanent spiritual home remains the East Bengal Regimental Centre, the EBRC, down in the Chattogram cantonment. That place is the true anchor of their regimental spirit. Section 3. National Defense Operations, guarding the homeland. Their core national missions require absolute whiplash versatility. Obviously, they safeguard territorial integrity, but a major chunk of their legacy is tied to Operation Uttaran. One month, they might be deep in the rugged Chittagong hill tracks running counter-insurgency ops and maintaining regional stability. The very next month, they're executing aid to civil power. That means deploying super rapidly to rescue civilians during devastating cyclones or floods, or even stepping in to assist civil administration during national elections. And to keep that tactical edge razor-sharp, they constantly run joint bilateral exercises. Think Sampriti with the Indian Army, or Tiger Lightning with the U.S. Pacific Army. It requires a genuinely unique kind of soldier to handle this dual mandate. I mean, domestically, they're facing grueling assignments in high-altitude border outposts and dense jungles for Operation Uttaran. Yet when they step onto the international stage, they have to pivot to these incredibly sensitive, multi-dimensional UN duties.
Suddenly, the focus shifts heavily to protecting displaced civilians and cooperating with local governments. It demands a flawless, almost instant transition between a rugged domestic counterinsurgency mission and a highly complex international peacekeeping mandate.
Section 4. Global Peacekeeping Missions, the Blue Helmets.
Their deployment zones basically read like a map of the world's most high-risk conflict areas. They've dropped into MONUSCO in the Democratic Republic of Congo, specifically in super volatile regions like Ituri and North Kivu. They've served with UNMIS in South Sudan, MINUSCA in the Central African Republic, and they've faced intensely hostile environments in Mali. In all these zones, their primary mandate is the protection of civilians. They are literally positioning themselves as a human shield between rebel incursions and incredibly vulnerable displacement camps.
So the crucial point is, how do they actually secure these regions? Well, it's not just through combat readiness. It's through CMAC, which stands for Civil Military Cooperation. This is a brilliant strategic approach to actually gain local trust. The Infinite 30 doesn't just run patrols. They physically rebuild communities. They're out there constructing schools and clinics, while their medics provide vital, life-saving healthcare. Because they know that in modern peacekeeping, winning hearts and minds is just as critical, if not more so, than winning a firefight. Section 5. Life in the Regiment, Compensation, Training, and Culture. The foundation of their compensation is the National Pay Scale, or BPS, which is mapped out by rank. You've got commissioned officers falling into grades 5 through 9, JCOs in grades 10 to 12, and enlisted soldiers in grades 13 to 17. But listen, that basic salary is really just the starting point. It gets heavily supplemented by military-specific allowances for things like command duties, rations, and equipment maintenance. And most notably, when these soldiers are pushed into hazardous domestic areas, like the Chittagong Hill Tracts, they earn specialized risk pay to compensate for the very real, everyday dangers they face. $1,200 to $1,400. That's a big number. When a soldier from the Infinite 30 deploys abroad under the UN banner, this is the extra monthly allowance they can earn. Usually, this gets saved up in a separate foreign currency account, and it creates a massive, truly life-altering financial impact. Back in Bangladesh, it's not just a nice little bonus for the soldier. It is transformational wealth that completely uplifts their families and breathes new life into their local communities back home. Let's move to and see how this builds into their training and welfare, because earning that global spot, it takes a massive toll. Before they even deploy, these soldiers have to endure absolutely brutal jungle warfare and survival courses at the Regimental Centre. You'll often see them proudly wearing specialized skill badges for parachute training, commando courses, or the crossed rifles of a marksmanship badge. But to balance out that extreme physical demand, the Army provides absolute top-tier welfare. The soldiers and their families get full access to world-class combined military hospitals, and their kids get to attend elite scenic schools. Make no mistake, the regiment fiercely takes care of its own. So we've looked at their tactics, their hierarchy, and their massive global footprint. But it leaves us with one essential question. What does it truly mean to offer infinite service? Beneath the brass titles and those maroon berets, the 30th Battalion proves time and time again, whether they're pulling people from a flooded village at home or guarding a conflict zone in Africa, that their enduring legacy is exactly what they strive to be, a true people's army, ready at a moment's notice, forever.